Before the next episode of X Job Downloaded starts, I have a big favour to ask. If you've enjoyed any of our episodes so far, please can you click on the follow button on your platform. I'm on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon and YouTube. It costs nothing to follow, but makes a real difference to me as a podcast producer. Thank you. This interview is being recorded. My name is Paul Maleary and this is X Job Downloaded. And today I'm interviewing Graham Roberts. Now, Graham is a former member of the Welsh Guards and now is a teacher with children with special needs. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for taking part in this interview. Your story is absolutely amazing, and I've read your notes that you sent me. But can you tell me where it all began for you and how you came to be a member of the Welsh Guards?
Yeah, so I was born in August 1976, what would be the hottest year in decades. And I was born, only £2 born, 6 weeks premature. And pretty much during labour, my dad was asked, who would you like to survive? Maybe not those words exactly, but the tone. And he chose his wife, which on reflection, I think we would all say the same, dare I say. I had numerous complications. I had double hernia. I was very small, obviously. And my parents were told I would have learning disabilities. I wouldn't live past my 16th birthday, which did haunt me for years. Yeah, and my left side of my body would grow smaller, not to the same scale as my right side. And at a young age, I didn't know this. I wasn't told it. When I was in school, I found school, education extremely difficult, really, really difficult. To the point I was put into a special needs class. And when I was put into a special needs class, I was in primary age. My parents sat me down and they informed me what I just discussed there. And that stayed with me. And I felt I was doomed. Even when I went into high school, I was placed in a special needs class. I really, really struggled. We weren't rich growing up. We were quite poor. In fact, I remember wearing second-hand trousers for school and Pan Am trainers. And of course, teenagers, they pick up on this and I got bullied. And I think that's where I started to build my resilience, I guess. Having said that, I did hide, so I wasn't leaving the school gates at the same time, 3:30. I was actually hiding beneath the stairs till about 5:30, 6:00. And my excuse to my parents was I was doing homework. And of course I wasn't. And I wasn't doing homework at home because I said I was doing homework in school. So I was put to myself at disadvantage. The closer I got to my 16th birthday, I was really panicking. I didn't overtly say it. I was secretly worried. Got to my 16th birthday, obviously I was still there. And my mum, she marched me to the maternity ward where I was born, St David's Hospital, which is not there now. It's a clothing store. And by pure fluke, the lady who was in charge of the ward, the sister, she was the lady that helped give birth. And she just broke down in tears. I actually remember her doing that.
No.
Yeah. I mean, that filled me with confidence in terms of I've overcome this barrier, and I can achieve more. So, like I said, that was my first taste of being resilient. It wasn't taught to me. I built it myself. As a young teenager, be male and female, your resilience, it's embedded into you. a few maturity, etc. And I just don't think that was installed into me.
Yeah.
So I had to, I don't know how, I had to find a way of doing it. I did. I'm not quite sure. I did. Got to 16. My GCSEs were really poor, really, really poor. However, having said that, I did secure myself a place on a vehicle engineering course in college. Attended it, I passed, and I got a job in a local garage. The garage was primarily a tyre fitting garage, and I was doing the little services and changing the spark plugs, etc. And I was always reminding myself that you've overcome the first hurdles in your life, you can actually achieve more. And this is where I met a gentleman called Elwyn, and he was a mechanic in the Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers in the Second World War.
Really?
He was an elder chap. I mean, a pure guess, I think he was in his 70s or 80s at that time. He was only working part-time, keep his hand in it, so to speak. And he was talking to me about the REME, etc. And I went to down my careers. I applied to join the REME. My first interview flew it. I passed my test. What was the BARB test? Brilliant. Got told, yeah, happy days. You'll go to basic training in Aberfield, down south, and went home. Buzzing, told my mum and dad, and they were absolutely thrilled. I felt so proud of myself. I went back for my second interview, and there was a Welsh Guardsman stood in the doorway who were inviting me in, and he then said, young man, you can do all that in the Welsh Guards. Me being naive at that time, an 18-year-old, I believed him. And he said, if you join the Welsh Guards today, you've got to Hong Kong. I thought, oh my God, wow, brilliant. From Bangor to Hong Kong. Excellent. So, yeah, believed him. Went through training. So training in them days was 12 weeks in Purbright in Surrey. And the rest of the training, I think, is about 14 weeks, maybe after it was in Catterick in North Yorkshire. So during the first 12 weeks of training, met the instructors, and then it started to dawn on me, hold on, no one's talking about Hong Kong yet. So I left the dormant. So I left that thought dormant. I thought, okay, yeah, maybe not. Anyway, so went to Catterick, did the training, passed out, went to my battalion in Turnhill, the Welsh Guards, and I said to my platoon sergeant, when we go to Hong Kong, and I won't swear on the interview, but in the roundabout way, he told me to wind my neck in. You're not going to Hong Kong, you're going to Liverpool on al fresco. So off we went to Liverpool, did the 5 strikes.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was the kind of the block between leaving school from what I initially thought was going to be a failure to join the Welsh Guards.
So what year was this?
1995.
So Green Goddesses, I remember it because, I'm from Essex and Colchester. We were staffing that with the military and escorting the Green Goddesses through the streets. And they were rickety old buses, weren't they, those Green Goddesses?
I was on that.
Oh, really?
In Salisbury Dock.
You're in Colchester?
No, so we were in Whalley Barracks.
Yeah.
And we did 5 strikes from there, and we were in Salisbury Docks.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so I remember that, 95. Now...
Well, sorry, the Salisbury Dock part, I think that was, oh, Christ. It must be between 96 and 2000.
Tilbury Docks, yeah. Yeah. Well, the docks are still there. In fact, I've got some mates that work for the police there now. But your family, I mean, had they previously been in the military, or is this something completely new?
So my father was in the Territorial Army,
right,
which is now reserves. He spent 10 years, 76 till 86.
Right.
And at that time, that was it. I mean, I joined the military to prove to myself I could do better and essentially escape the old me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to build a new me.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah, so that's why I joined the army. And I mean, why the Welsh Guards? Apart from being convinced, um, the Welsh Guards at the time, still is now, right? So, is a very unique regiment. You know, it's not just infantry; it's the prestigious role in London.
Yeah.
And being a young man from Bangor, North Wales, that appealed to me. The London life.
Had you been to London before?
Never.
So your first deployment is Liverpool. Did you say on the Green Goddesses?
Yeah.
And then when you came away from that, did you come to Wellington Barracks, or where did you get posted to?
Yeah, so Op Fresco was part of the Turnhill posting.
Right.
And then March 1996, we then moved to Welly Barracks to do public duties. We stayed there for 4 years. So within that time in Wellington Barracks, we did operational tours to Northern Ireland, Canada, America. And I went to America in 1999, and I decided I wanted to, do something different. So I decided to go to the recce platoon.
Right.
Absolutely loved it. Brilliant job.
So for those listening, what does that actually mean? What is the recce platoon?
So the recce platoon is the close reconnaissance platoon. Their job within an infantry battalion is to gain intelligence on the enemy. So the rifle platoons companies can then plan orders, plan attacks, and then execute attacks.
So do you embed yourself in the field with close to the enemy, or do you gain sources that will provide you with the information?
No, so essentially, you're at a point and then you move forward in Land Rovers. At times, disembark, patrol forward, observe the enemy, gain intelligence, their pattern of life, their equipment, their weapons, etc., their routine, and then go back and then feed it up to the leaders, and then they plan attacks on the basis of. Yeah.
And you did that in Northern Ireland, or was that in other locations?
No, so in Northern Ireland, I was part of a rifle company. So as a soldier, and then recce was the America one.
Right.
Yeah. And then finished that. We then went back to Wellington Barracks in London. And then, that's it, more public duties. So public duties essentially is standing on sentry aside the Royal Palaces, so Buckingham Palace, Tower London, Windsor Castle, etc. In the summer, you do 24 hours on. Well, that's not 24 hours standing, that's 2 hours on, 6 hours off.
Right.
And in the winter is 48 hours on, 48 hours off.
Wow. And who's the garrison sergeant major then? Perry Mason?
It was Perry Mason, sir. Yeah, good old Colstringer, Perry Mason.
He was a member. Sadly, he's no longer with us, but he was a member of my golf club. He moved out when he left the military. He moved out to Essex and he joined my local golf club. But as I say, but sadly, he's no longer with us. And then Billy Mott took over from him, didn't he?
That's it. Yeah. He was there for a while, Billy.
Yeah. He's in the USA now, I understand. But I saw him two years ago, I think, at Chelsea Pensioners, the Founders Day event at the Chelsea Pensioners. He was there with his brother Nicky and
that's it.
And Paul Cunliffe from the Tower of London.
Oh yeah, Paul.
Yeah.
He does a Falcons event every year in the Tower.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's a great lad. I'd love to get him on here because he's got some unbelievable stories. But maybe one day. So, had you been to the USA before?
Yeah, we went to a place called Fort Lewis. It's in Washington State. You could call me naive, but I thought America would be the same kind of climate. Yeah, that's kind of wrong. It was bloody freezing. Yeah, the Pacific Northwest is really, really windy and cold.
Yeah, it is. So is that
Yeah.
north of Seattle or?
So the Fort Lewis is geographically to the east of Seattle.
Right.
So is what.
And how did you find that transformation? Because, you know, we speak the same language and military is military, but they've got a completely different setup to ours.
Yeah, it's quite different, actually. We are very professional in the British Army. We get up in the morning, Rivali, wash and shave, breakfast, and crack on training. The Americans, they get up like 4 in the morning. They go for the squad run and the singing and all the rest of it. And they obviously carry on their daily routine. It's quite different to the way we do things. But having said that, we have a common bond.
Yeah,
with the US and the UK forces.
I'm going to take you back. So you've done your training at Purbright. When was your first public duty? When did you put on your scarlets and your bare skin and go out and stand in front of Buckingham Palace?
So we got to, I'm going to call it Welly Barracks.
Yeah.
In March 1986.
Right.
So I'm going to say, in fact, my first public duty was Buckingham Palace, and that was probably end of March, straight into it.
And how did you find that? Because for those people listening, and there's 134 countries listening to this, so you've got that fence outside Buckingham Palace. They mount the guard from Wellington Barracks, march it across, the bands, blah, blah, blah. And then as they shut the gate, you've got thousands of people standing, looking at you like you're in a zoo.
Yeah, that's right, actually.
What is that like the very first time that you have to go into one of those sentry boxes?
Very daunting. Very nervous. You got the eyes of the military on you because you're new to it. You got the eyes of the world onto you. And of course, being a young guardsman at the time, you got the eyes of the senior sergeant of the guard on you.
Of course.
And, you're there for 2 hours. You're standing there for 2 hours. However, you can move every 15 minutes. You got, like, for example, 12 paces left, 12 paces right. So you can move.
Yeah.
But you're scared in case you mess it up. And when the Queen, God bless her soul, when she was in residence, there used to be 2 of you on sentry.
Right.
And you'd have to move in sequence exactly the same. Every movement exactly the same.
No.
Yeah.
So how do you signal? How do you know when you're going to come out of the box and march, do your 12 paces, you'll go left, they'll go right, or whatever it may be, and
you shout, ready, up. And
as simple as that.
Yeah, it's a pre kind of discussed maneuver. And when you want to finish the patrol, you use a signal of your fingers. Like one finger means go back to where you are. I can't remember the rest. I think 2 fingers will stop and salute. But one of the important ones was using the hand, the 5 fingers, that's to stop as a royal salute. Remember, all families coming.
Oh, wow. And what was that like the first time you saw a senior royal? I mean, any royal, I'm in awe of them, and I'm a sad git when it comes to the royal family. I still believe in the sanctity of the royal family. But what was that like the first time that you saw the late Queen?
That's quite funny, actually. The first time I seen her was at Windsor Castle, and she nearly ran me over.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I seen the Land Rover coming, and between the long walk between the 2 sentry posts, and I assumed this vehicle was going to stop. No, so I had to step up my pace so we're not in her way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Formidable lady. I did see her a couple of times up close, and yeah, absolutely superb individual in my books.
Yeah.
So you're at Windsor Castle. Were you going between the two places, between Wellington Barracks and Windsor? Because there was a camp over at a barracks over at Windsor as well, wasn't there, for Welsh Guards?
Yeah, so you got Conwy Barracks and you got Victoria Barracks.
Right.
Yeah, so we were in Welly, obviously, and we would get in a coach early in the morning, go to Victoria in our combats, get changed into our tunic, bearskins, etc., and march over for 11 o'clock for the change in the guard. Day after in the summer, the whole process is repeated.
And when you did your very first troop, I suppose, what was that like? Because I mean, that is a spectacle, to say the least. When you've got Billy Mott out there or Perry Mason, whoever it was, shouting the commands, and the bands, the horses, it's just a phenomenal spectacle. What was that like for you as a participant?
It's very, very, very daunting. It's embedded into you, not in a direct way of saying, but if you make a mistake, the eyes of the world are on you, so you can't really force a mistake. Yeah, it's quite scary, to be honest.
Yeah, I can
But
imagine.
the amount of pride that's actually going through at the same time is just phenomenal. Absolutely, it really is.
But the preparation is unbelievable as well, because there's the Major General's review. There's all the other rehearsals that take place.
Yeah,
It's
there's a few weeks.
Superb. Yeah, absolutely
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah. You do free rehearsals on horse guards as well.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So by the time you actually do Troop on the Colour, the Queen's Birthday Parade, you're well tuned.
Yeah, and if you got it wrong, you'd be well tuned as well at the end of it.
Yeah, yeah, you can see. But you know what, London? I mean, it was hard work. The amount of time you spend brushing your bearskin, shampooing it, etc., bullying the boots, doing your brasses, whitening your belt, and all the rest of it. It was stressful at times, and it was hard work, but it's actually enjoyable. I mean, you need to consider, as a young lad from Bangor, North Wales, sleeping North Wales, and I'm now living in arguably one of the best cities on earth.
I agree.
No longer was I that vulnerable young man who's supposed to be, dying to tell I'm 16. I'm now living the life of London.
Oh yeah.
It was amazing.
At mess prices as well.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, but the thing is that you'll have people. You did your time, didn't you? You did your
Yeah.
time in the military, but you'll have people that will still be in Bangor that probably have never been to London, or they'll be sitting on a bar stool telling the same jokes that they were telling 30 years ago to the same recipients. You've travelled the world. You've done things that will make a lot of people laugh and make a lot of people cry.
Mm.
That is the difference. That's the character building element of being in the military. I mean, I would, God forbid we ever go to war, because I don't know who's going to step up and actually fight these battles now. I really don't. I just think it's there's some great people joining the military, but they're struggling with recruitment and retention.
Yeah.
And you can understand why, because it's about valuing the people that you work with, and I'm not sure that they are always valued. I mean, the military have always had to make do with stuff. They haven't always had the best equipment. They haven't had the poshest. I mean, the Land Rovers work, thank God, but it's sometimes it's a struggle, and I don't think people realise that.
No.
What was your first kinetic deployment? I mean, you did Northern Ireland, but I'm assuming that we were coming to the end of the troubles, for want of a better word. I mean, that said, we had a car bomb over the weekend out there, but
Yeah.
but what was your first sort of kinetic deployment?
I think we mentioned Northern Ireland. We went to Northern Ireland first in 1997. We went back then in the year 2000. I mean, up to this point, I've done my junior non-commissioned officer card. I'd done my PTI course, I'd done my recce card. So the year 2000, I was a leader. I was commanding my own team.
Yeah.
For the sake of the listeners, a team is four soldiers, and in the multiple, the Northern Ireland, you had 3 teams in the multiple, so it was 12. And I remember actually the week before we were training, there was an incident in Northern Ireland, and I thought, oh, right, okay. I just thought it was going to be like patrolling the streets. I thought, oh, this is real then. So that kind of made me realise it's not just walking the streets and observing, the terrorists. They're actually putting yourself in effectively the line of fire here.
Mm.
Thankfully, it was a relatively quiet tour in Ireland. So after the Ireland tour, I went back, did Junior Brecon, so a Session Commander's Battle Course, which got me promoted to Lance Sergeant. So essentially, I was in charge of my own section, so section's 8 soldiers. Did that for a while, and then I got selected to go to the Army Training Regiment in Pirbright to train recruits, the next generation of guardsmen.
What were you doing in Brecon?
Oh, sorry. So Brecon is where you do your promotion courses within the infantry.
Right.
So in Denning Lines in Brecon, every infantry soldier who is what we call in their rifle platoon, rifle company, they go to Brecon to do their promotion courses.
I see. So you're a platoon commander.
Now, as a section commander.
Section commander.
Yeah, sorry. Had my own section. Then I got chosen to go to Pirbright to teach the next generation of guardsmen. So in Pirbright, I was an instructor, so I was in charge of a section of 12 recruits within a platoon of 48 recruits.
And were they all Welsh Guards?
They were a mix between all the Household Division regiments,
right.
From the Foot Guards, the Life Guards, and the Booths and Royals.
Right.
We did that for a few months, and the Guards company, which I was in, they moved to Catterick, but the Guards instructors stayed in Pirbright to teach the logistics, the REME, etc. So I stayed there, and I continued to do that for the rest of the 2 years.
How did you find the training element of? I mean, look, you said earlier on you're not, your education wasn't the best for you, but you've gone on to train people. You're a teacher now. How was that training element for you by taking on these young guardsmen?
I'm quite glad you asked that question, because that was my first exposure to teaching, albeit as an instructor. But something inside me quite liked it. Something was lit, and that stayed with me. For the rest of the military career, and now.
Good.
Yes, I quite enjoyed it.
And it's helping people is part of what the military do, isn't it? That's what the military are there for. People people get the wrong impression, but actually the military are there to help, and helping your own people first to develop and become the perfect soldier. That's exactly what you're there for. And if you can do that into civvy life and make people's lives better, then that's fabulous.
Well, on the back of that, I was helped when I was a baby, when I was a child. So I felt as in debt to humanity. So I wanted to help, and I still do that now. As you discussed earlier, I teach, young adults with additional learning needs. I'm still in that mentality, wanting to help. You could say I feel the need to pay back.
Where did you go to from Pirbright?
So from Pirbright, went back to the battalion, and I then did the static covert surveillance cadre for Kosovo.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely brilliant job. Loved it. So when we were in Kosovo, we got tasked to find people wanted for war crimes from the previous war.
Oh, fantastic! That is right up my street. I can tell you, I would have loved to have done that.
It was amazing. I was doing covert drive pasts, covert walk pasts, fly pasts, OPs. We're spending 2 to 3 weeks in an OP watching the same person. Once we confirm he's there on routine, we then get the Swedish to go in and nick him. It was amazing, absolutely brilliant job.
The Swedish, so the Swedish were
Yeah.
so they were effectively the police service that went and did it. You did all the work.
Yeah, we did the groundwork. They got the medals.
And Wallenberg went round and nicked them. That's
Yeah.
what a lovely job. And
Yeah,
I mean, it's very
amazing.
fulfilling as well, isn't it? Because you see the end result. When they go to the international court or wherever they go to be held to account for their war crimes. Because Kosovo was pretty brutal, wasn't it? I mean, some of the things that actually took place there are vile.
Yeah.
But to bring people to justice like that must have been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, in Pristina, the main city, we were doing OPs in civilian clothing, in disused blocks of flats. It was mega, absolutely. Every soldier's dream is to do gigs like that. It was good.
But were you put at risk? I mean, was there still threat, harm, risk in that area at that time?
Yeah, it was more indirect. So minefields, the odd shoot, nothing significant in comparison to today's kinetic fighting.
Oh no.
However, you don't really want to be walking into a minefield, at night.
No. I mean, that goes without saying. To be honest with you, mate. I mean, I know I was a copper, but even I wouldn't go and put my size 10s through that. But so how long were you out in Kosovo for?
So I was there for 5 months, so a month short, because I got selected to do my next promotion, which was the platoon sergeant's battle course down in Brecon again.
Right.
So the first time I went to Brecon was to juniors, which was bloody cold. Did it in the winter. Sorry, in the summer. And then seniors, I did it in the winter, in January 2007. Although it was cold, I actually enjoyed seniors more because I learned more.
Right.
Rather than just getting beasted about the hills just for the sake of it. But seniors actually learned quite a bit.
Treated more like an adult.
Yeah, you are, because essentially you are the adult of the platoon. You're the platoon sergeant. You're the model. How you conduct yourself is how your soldiers conduct themselves.
Yeah, and how does the rank? Because you have sergeant, lance sergeant, or how does it work in the Welsh Guards?
You have guardsman, which is the equivalent of a private soldier.
Yep.
Then you have lance corporal.
Yep.
Then you have lance sergeant, which is the equivalent of a corporal.
Right.
And then the remainder is, the same. So sergeant, colour sergeant, Crimson major, RQMS, TQMS, then regiment sergeant major.
Right. And the prestige as you go up in the regiment is quite considerable, isn't it? I mean,
I think on reflection, during Queen's Guards, we called it then, responsibility, it's quite a lot. You're calling out the words of command on Queen's Guard, in Buckingham Palace forecourt.
Yeah.
Whereas, the tourists are watching you. And the responsibility is vast. If you make a mistake, it's you who, potentially is going to look silly or be all over YouTube, etc., social media.
Certainly now, yeah.
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 But with that, I mean, what I found personally, with the extra pressure of leadership, it reminded me that I've come a long way from where I actually started off my life. And to add to that, I got selected for Sandhurst.
So how did you get selected for Sandhurst then? What was the process there?
There's no process as such. It's just about how you conduct yourself as a senior non-commissioned officer, as a soldier, as a person. So 2008, I I was selected. I was one of three from the one of four from the Welsh Guards who got selected. Three of us passed, one didn't. And to be a colour sergeant in Sandhurst, they have to do a 6 weeks CARDA, and it's bloody tough physically and mentally.
Yeah, I bet it is.
I mean, to be honest, I mean, rightly so, because you're teaching the next generation of leaders, of officers. Some of these young officers are going to be generals.
Yeah, absolutely, and they'll remember you for the rest of their lives.
Well, I'm still in contact with quite a few of my officer cadets.
Really? Oh, yeah. For those people listening, Sandhurst is the officers' academy, basically, isn't it? It's the academy where officers, but not only British officers, but officers from all over the world will come there to be trained in our methods, and that just shows how well regarded that institution is held across the globe.
Yeah,
because you'll get Saudi, Brunei, you'll get everybody will go there. All the best of the best will go there and be trained by people like you.
Yeah, Americans, Canadians, dare to say now, Ukrainians potentially. I'm not quite sure. But anywhere there's British interest or relationships, within countries that they tender. One of my cadets actually was the Prince of Liechtenstein.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he is my platoon.
Wow.
Lovely chap.
What was that like, though? I mean, you've gone from a normal mess to not to say the most prestigious building in British military life. What was that like for you? The boy from the boy from Bangor.
There's no other word to describe it, but amazing.
Yeah,
I've achieved it. I was destined to fail. And here I am in the top 5% of the non-commissioned officers in the British Army.
That's phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah, I could not have felt any prouder and taller. I had proven all my doubters wrong, proven the medical professionals wrong. This is it. I had done it.
Oh, and what did your family say? Did they realise the significance of taking up that post?
Absolutely. They were absolutely proud of me. Absolutely proud of me.
Yeah, so would I, mate.
Yeah. But yeah, so 2 years Sandhurst, and we had 2 children there, a wife at the time, 2 boys. Went back to the battalion. This time they were posted in Aldershot.
Right.
And we're getting ready for Kenya. So in 2010, Kenya.
What's that like? Had you been to Kenya before? Because there's a big relationship. There's a lot of training goes on out there.
Yeah. So Kenya was my kind of stumbling block.
Right.
So I got back to the battalion, colour sergeant, highly regarded, highly respected. I was in charge of the company's logistics. Secretly, I didn't really like the posting because I didn't want to be logistics, I wanted to be a soldier. However, it's part of the promotion process. You have to do the job, etc. So we went to Kenya, and one scenario in Kenya, we were going from live ammunition to blank ammunition. And I mean, Paul Dunn, we discussed him earlier, he will remember this quite well. And the casualties kit wasn't checked. And when you go from live ammunition to blank ammunition, there's a host of checks you need to do, a host of paperwork you need to sign. Because if checks aren't done properly, if someone fires a live round down a weapon with a BFA note, someone could get killed. During these checks of the casualties, webbing, etc., I found live ammunition and grenades. Yeah, so
Bloody hell.
if I was to say I found this, bear in mind the company have already gone to do blank firing, the company's name would be a lot of people would have been in trouble.
Yeah.
So at the time, I had the choice either to do the right thing or do the moral right thing. So at that time, I decided the moral right thing was to get rid of the ammunition myself.
Right.
So I asked one of the young guardsmen to drive into the desert and dig a hole, bury the ammo, and forget about it.
Oh, mate.
I know it was a moment of madness, but at that time, I had to make a split decision, and I made that decision. Unfortunately, that decision came back, and yeah, I was compromised. I was caught out. The young guardsman, he didn't dig a hole; he just threw it out the window of the landing, and that was it. So he got caught. Yeah, I didn't bollock him. I could have, but I didn't because he just did what I told him to do: get rid of the. So I did the right thing. I admitted that I'd made a mistake. And as a result, I got reduced in rank to a sergeant.
Oh, mate.
Yeah. And that took me back to, I was 16 again. Is that right? Okay. I've lived my high life. It's a reality now. Having said that, I actually enjoyed it because I went to a normal rifle platoon, being a platoon sergeant again, in charge of the blokes. I was back in the ground. I was loving it.
Yeah, I know.
So there was a silver lining, but you know what really hurts me? What really hurt? My company commander saying to me, Colour Sergeant, you were destined to be the regimental sergeant major. You're not anymore. That hurt.
Yeah, I'll bet it did.
So off I go, get demoted, a sergeant, and I said, right, I can either let this beat me or stick my head above the parapet and just crack on.
Yeah.
I cracked on. A new command officer took over and I got re-promoted. Back Colour Sergeant, went to the Prince of Wales Company and we did Afghan training and we deployed to Afghan.
Right.
Loving it, absolutely mega tour, Op Eric 16 in 2012. In charge of the company's logistics and the green zone in a patrol base. And we had to dispose of all our waste ourselves. And I said to one young guardsman to burn the rubbish. And I said, use diesel, use that jerry can, go in the quad, burn. Honest to God, turn my back, 10 minutes. And then I remember hearing this. He used petrol. He blew himself up.
No.
It was a hell of a state. Eyelids and the fingers everywhere.
Oh, no.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
God.
I'm sorry I'm laughing, but it's just...
Oh, no, you couldn't write it. Me giving young guardsmen tasks. I was being quite clear what I wanted to do. So he got medevaced by the Americans back to Bastion, back to the UK.
No.
Anyway, the tour carried on. A few kinetic operations, and then Herrick finished, back to the UK. And being bust really hurt me a lot. My self-esteem, my confidence went down. You wouldn't see it from the outside, but I was really sore. I was really hurting. And I thought I could not regain. That was my vision at the time. So I decided to leave the Welsh Guards. Right, I left the army. So I decided to go into close protection.
How long had you served at this point?
So I served 20 years in the Welsh Guards.
So you're 2 years shy of your full pension.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a deep breath you must have taken at that point, mate, to sign off.
Yeah. I got my full pension.
Right.
Because that made me qualify after 18 years.
Right. Okay.
So I had my pension, so that was in the bag. And I just really couldn't see myself carrying on in the Welsh Guards. I wanted to be commissioned. I wanted, late entry officer jobs. I just think Kenya really, really damaged me. It really hurt. So, like I said, I left the Welsh Guards and I went down to Hereford, did 6 weeks CP. Oh my God, amazing. And that is where my confidence rebuilt. I was me again. And I left Hereford with a distinction and a guaranteed job in the Middle East.
Fantastic.
And off I went. I went to Iraq as a close protection operator.
And what was that like? I mean, you've given back your rifle with one hand and taken a rifle with another. But what was that like? Not having the DPM and the support of the British Army with you when you're deployed.
I didn't really consider that. I was surrounded by like-minded blokes, British, East European lads and South Africans, all of the same caliber, without sounding arrogant. We did our job. We look after the client well. At the time, my clients were primarily Russian. We gym. It was good, amazing.
And was there ever? Sorry,
it wasn't enough. I did enjoy it. I spent 2 years there. And after the first few months, I got promoted to project manager. So essentially, it's looking after 100 people, blokes, and 30 odd vehicles.
Wow.
But to me, psychologically, I was that CQMS again.
Yeah.
And that Kenya thing was haunting me. I did enjoy Iraq. The money was great. The rotations were brilliant. 8 weeks away, 4 weeks at home. It was mega, But like I said, I just wanted more. I proved to myself this far in life, if you push yourself, you can actually achieve great things.
Yeah.
I did it in the military. I did Sandhurst, all the promotion courses. I had a distinction in Hereford for my CP. I thought, okay, keep going. So at that time, a company was discussed quite a bit in conversations. I won't reference the company. So I obtained an email address of the company, sorry, and I applied, I sent my CV, etc. I was actually on leave late 2015, and I had a phone call from what would be my boss in the next place, which I will describe shortly, asking me, would I like to have an interview? Skype interview, had an interview, and the chap who interviewed me is an extraordinary person. He's a fantastic leader, ex-colonel in the Parachute Regiment. And he made reference to the picture I got behind me. So for the listeners, it's my Sandhurst survivors picture. So essentially, if you do 2 years in Sandhurst being a good boy and you don't get returned to your unit, you get this picture.
Fantastic.
And he made reference to that, and that kind of proved to him that I had the caliber he wanted. I was the kind of person he wanted on his team.
Yeah.
So he went on to the details of the job, and he informed me the job was in Syria.
Right.
So back in 2015, Syria was dominating all the news networks.
Yeah.
And I took a gulp. I thought, oh, okay. He informed me that, we'd be mentoring local forces against the fights, yeah, against the enemy. And he then informed me the pay packet, and it was £18,600 a month.
Wow, tax free.
Yeah. So I kind of forgot about all the worries.
Wow.
Yeah. So conversation went on, asked about more information, told me more information, informed me that we'll be staying in a place which I will call for this, called S17. And we would be nurturing local forces against an enemy called, which I'll call the Black Front. So interview done, got invited to London to do some training. So I remember rocking up to the office. I pressed the buzzer on the door, and I said who I was, and went upstairs. And this building was just a normal building in London, which I won't discuss where. Walked up the stairs, and there's military pictures, military plaques. I walked into the ops room, and there's maps of Syria. There's discussions. There's models on the table. I thought, oh my god, this is absolutely real. This is the stuff.
Yep.
Every soldier dreams of, dare I say this, a proper fight.
Yeah, of course they do. No,
Oh my God.
of course they do. That's why
Yeah.
people join the army, isn't it? That's what they're trained to do.
So spent a week down there, did training, intelligence briefs, met the rest of the blokes, got our kit issued, went back home, did the normal stuff, beasting up and down the hills, did research on the group that we would be training. And then we had the flight tickets, and then the flight into Syria went via Beirut. And off we go, October 2015 into Beirut. I was expecting to land in some kind of hellhole. Far from it, Beirut is absolutely amazing. Bustling, Ferraris, Range Rover garages, people dressed in Western clothing, bars were so vibrant. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. And strangely, Muslims and Christians working, drinking together, friendly, is so nice. In fact, I remember one scenario. We were staying in the Hilton Hotel. I looked out the window, and a church and a mosque was next to each other. And I thought, okay, so we are fed that two sides don't get on. With living proof they actually do. So that was good. So we waited in Beirut for a few days, waiting for our visas, and we then met the fixer, got into the taxis, very nervous. We were all apprehensive, but being blokes and the bravado, we didn't want to admit it. Got into the vehicles, and as we leave in Beirut, it then became apparent that, okay, yeah, this is the Beirut I thought, being bombed out, etc. Got to the Syrian border, flags everywhere, very Soviet, if I'm allowed to reference that.
Yeah.
Border crossing point, the people there were very nervous. They were very kind of judgmental of us, and rightly so. 12 Brits have not crossed into Syria before, so they have got a right to be nervous. So we got there, given them our visas and passports and all that, but the border crossing point commander wouldn't allow us in. So we had to get our fixer to call our Syrian leader, who would then get hold of Hire, who would then inform them to let them through. So yeah, we end up going through anyway. We then drove north, went to Damascus in pickups this time. And Syria, the countryside is absolutely quite pretty. There's mountains, there's olive groves. The people are very friendly, dressed in Western clothing. We stopped for a break. Went to a cafe for coffee and savouries. Again, people are very friendly with us, despite us not being there before. Very welcoming. Then we got back in the vehicles. Then we got to S17. which is a large town. Again, people are very friendly, not as bombed out as we were led to believe. It was quite nice. We then met the Syrian leaders who were in charge of the local forces that we'll be working with. We met the blokes. So essentially, we were employed to build a new unit, which we will call the Special Battalion within the local forces. And the Special Battalion were employed to defend their area of responsibility against the Black Front, who then became the Shadow Coalition, and against ISIS. So we trained them basic military skills. So basic, phase one training, fitness, zeroing of the weapons, the AK-47s, basic stuff like that. We did that for a few months, and then we were gaining intelligence. The Black Front, we're using certain tactics. So we then started to change our approach. So rather than us just training generic infantry skills, we were then training them skills that were tailored to what they needed. Now, for an example, the enemy, the Black Front, they had a trench system on high ground, observing the front line of our forces. And they would often conduct raids from that.
Right.
So we built a trench system that mimicked that. So a sister version, effectively. And we trained the blokes to assault that. So due to my Sandhurst experience, I was asked to mentor the platoon commander. So essentially, I was planning and commanding training assaults on the trenches. Yeah, so it was mega. Absolutely loved it. The training intensified. We did bayonet training, we did RPG training, PKC training, some machine guns training, and we really did push the physical fitness. We did raids training, platoon attacks, ambushes, really pushed the training. So what we then decided to do was to push us, the advisors, forward and do a recce on the actual front line. So the positions, oh my God, they were in poor state.
Right.
Manned by ill-equipped, ill-trained troops. The sentry positions, for example, they were not fit for what they were designed for. The tanks, they weren't facing the right way. It was diabolical. So our boss came up with a plan of how to make this better. So as we were training our special battalion, we were also training the front positions as well. And this is where it changed. I mean, the plan was to go to Syria and train basic military skills. However, we then found ourselves in mentoring as well. So the enemy, Black Front, they were always assaulting, raiding from the same location, same angle all the time. So I decided to conduct a recce of what I deemed as what would be their FRB. So we went forward, myself, 2 of the Brits and 4 Syrians, to do a recce of a small building. As I moved forward, I seen a figure lean through a corner of a building. It was only 15 meters away. I mean, I was shocked to see him. He was as shocked as me. And I remember exactly what he's wearing. He's wearing MC Hammer trousers, digicam dish dash, chest rig, and schmag, the long barreled weapon. He disappeared and he came back up again. And this time he raised his weapon. I was quicker. So what happened next was an almighty firefight. So we then extracted back 3 olive trees to the ERV, so the emergency rendezvous. Go back in the vehicles and extracted, go back to our base. Adrenaline has a weird way of leaving your body. And that night, always be quite crude. I had bad diarrhea because I was coming down. So that angle was becoming to be a bit of a menace. So what I wanted to do was get the guys for anti-personnel mines there. No, that wasn't going to work. So I decided to do a recce into a re-entrant where the enemy was approaching from. So I went down re-entrant and the enemy see me, they engaged me. And when you're getting shot at, if you get shot at from a good few meters away, you hear a crack and a thump. But when you hear a whistle, it's within 2 to 3 feet. And I was hearing that. So I got my belt buckle, got behind all the trees. And then the blokes behind me in the FRV stroke fire support, they were engaging as well. So I got the enemy firing at me from that direction and the fire support firing over me toward the enemy direction. So I was completely goosed. And of course, my radio was dead. I was like, oh my God, I can't stay here because I'm going to get killed in a second. So I had an out-of-body experience, so I decided to just get up and run. AK my right hand, I just waved the hell out my left hand, hoping someone would see me. The blokes see me, Mr. Robbo, so they stopped firing. I got behind them. They then kept engaging. When they fired moved back to the vehicles, off we went. And that's when we decided that, okay, the enemy up there, they're quite good. So I couldn't secure the base of re-entrant. So I then decided that we're going to put barbed wire at the top of the olive trees. So if you can envisage, we had 2 points, OP1, OP2. And between them, there was a prominent re-entrant. The entrant had olive trees in it. So the bottom of the entrant, I couldn't secure. It was too dangerous, too much of a risk. So we decided to put barbed wire at the top of the re-entrant to try to stop the enemy approaching that way. So another day, I was briefing the blokes up, briefing the team commander what we're going to do. Standing up, there was no clear line of sight between me and the enemy. The enemy's 1,000 meters away. I thought, no way, they're going to hit me with small arms. Previously, they were engaging me with HMG, so heavy machine gun. And then I'm standing up. The blokes they're on the knees. I'm briefing them up, and the next minute, it's a mighty sting in my right fingers. My weapon got ripped from my hand. So for the listeners, my right hand was holding my weapon, and it was about 4 inches from my right thigh, my weapon, and the round went between my hand and my thigh from 1,000 meters away. I was absolutely petrified. My friend dived on me, threw me to the floor, checked me for blood. There was nothing. My boss, to change the atmospherics, jokingly said, "Why did you just drop your weapon on the floor?" Jokingly, with a half smirk on his face. And that kind of worked. I was like, okay, fair one. Anyway, got up, dusted myself off, and carried on briefing the blokes because I didn't want the lads to see me vulnerable. Didn't want them to see me modelling being scared because they would mimic that and they would be scared. So I needed to be the leader. We carried on with the task. We moved forward. Lo and behold, we got shot at again. And this time, this is when I gave up. So I was lying down in the prone. There's a lad to my right, my other friend to his right, and again we got shot at. And as I described earlier, it wasn't the cracking of thump I could hear, it was the whistle again, and the ground to my left was getting kicked up. The lad to my right got shot in his hand, quite a significant injury. So as we were getting shots at, we were giving him first aid. So we put a tourniquet on him and a dressing. I lay there and I could feel the rounds literally going past me. And I just gave up. I just said goodbye to my kids. I just lay there waiting to die. I literally had nothing in me, I had nothing left at all. So I thought, this is me, this is my day. The enemy point got hit with artillery. There was a bit of a lull in the fighting, sorry. And then decided to get up. So we ran, we scarpered. And pure my luck, the ground then started getting rattled by rounds again. Anyway, we got back to cover. And how the hell I got out there, I honestly do not know. I must have some kind of guardian angel. Another day, so we then decided that we could not put the defences up to the best of our ability, so we needed to assault that trench system. So the trench system that we were practicing on, now is the day that we need to assault it.
Wow.
So in we go. We then planned an attack, and we got to the fight spot location, and again we were engaged. So we had a fight, and the bloke next to me, his head just dropped, hit the dirt. So I shouted over to him, "Oi, oi, get up, get up!" But absolutely nothing. So I called over to him, checked him. There's a little tiny bullet hole above his collarbone. And people, when they watch films, they assume a bullet hole is going to be massive. No, it's not. It's a tiny hole. And I tried to look for an exit wound. I couldn't find one at all. So anyway, he was unresponsive. We were getting shots at. So I decided I had to pick him up. So I put him in some kind of fireman's lift. Picked him up, ran, got into the pickup, threw him in the pickup, off he went. And that attack didn't go in. Day after, my boss decided that I was always getting shot at, and my days were kind of getting narrow a bit. So I decided to watch the attack go in from a disused chicken factory. So I climbed up a set of ladders, watched the attack go in. And previous to this, I was teaching a lad called Mohammed how to counter ID. So you mark and avoid an ID on the way into assault. He was cocky, this guy. He always thought he knew better. And I was watching him move up a lane, and there it was, grey smoke. There was literally nothing left of him. There was nothing at all. All the blokes running around like headless chickens. So I decided to run down the ladder, run over to the point which is about 200 metres away, control the lads to get them in. Because if there's one ID, there's going to be secondaries.
Yeah.
So I got the lads, calmed them down, said to the platoon commander, right, sort the platoon out, get the grip of them. He did. And then next minute, a crack goes overhead from a dusker round. One of the lads behind us decided to climb up the same ladder I was on moments earlier to observe, and he got cut in half by dusker round. Literally cut in half. Now, dusker round is a 12.7mm anti-tank weapon. And again, carnage, had to control the blokes. So that attack obviously didn't go in. So there we go. So that was the enemy to the west against the Black Front, which then became the Shadow Coalition. So it all went quiet there. There was no counter-attacks, there was no raids anymore. Maybe they understood that, the local forces are better than we anticipated, or they withdrew. Not quite sure.
Wow.
So we then started to concentrate on the east, which was ISIS. I was rattled by battle. I was scared. I was worried. I lived, close to death. I've experienced it. And then I was facing ISIS. I was even more scared, So we were attacking 3 points, which I'll call points 6, 7, and 8. I remember looking for set binders once, looking at an ISIS flag, and I was absolutely petrified. So I was mentoring the platoon. Point 6 was taken by the blokes. I stayed out of it because I was starting to panic myself about my own life now. Point 7 went in. It wasn't really the way I wanted them to execute the operation, so I decided, me and the boss, I'll call him, our leader, we decided to mentor the platoon headquarters during the next assault, which was on 2.8. So myself and the boss were behind a pile of rocks, and we got bloody shot at again.
Oh,
so
my
we
life.
pinned down. Yeah. So I cried out to the fire support, and I remember saying, "Smash the F out of that position now." So they smashed it. Me and the boss, we extracted individual fire maneuver back to 0.7, and we watched the rest of the assault go in. Anyway, they took the position. We went up to 0.8, and what I'm going to say now has actually haunted me for years. I came across a burnt ISIS body, charred, and I squashed his head with my right boot because I had that much hate in me. Yeah, that stayed. Excuse me. Sorry. That stayed with me for quite some time. Guilt. Hated myself for it. But at the time, I had that much anger and rage in me. You know, through the West and now the East, I was in hell. So yeah, so that was that. And the fighting was intensifying with ISIS, and we were then assaulting their, the built-up areas, their towns and villages. So we then started to train urban warfare. So we went to a place which name I'll keep disclosed to do training. And I remember actually driving into this place, and it just smelled of death. You know, the place was smashed. The minaret in the mosque was gone. It wasn't a nice place. We went to a school which would be our base, where we conducted training, where we, launched from, etc. And I remember looking out the window on the top floor, and on the school wall, there was a line of bullet holes. And in my mind at the time, I knew exactly what it was, because I had a gut feeling, but I wanted to ask my interpreter. So I'm allowed to reference his name because he's given me permission. So I asked Adnan what it was, and he said to me, "Mr. Robo, the children in the school, this is where they were killed. This is where they're executed." I was like, "For God's sake, okay." And only that morning, I went to one of the classrooms and I seen the register of, the kids. So that day we did patrolling skills. So when you go firm, we do a thing called 5 and 20 meter checks, so essentially checking the area. So I went into a little room in one of the buildings just to have a little nosy, and on the floor was little grey, like ash and all the rest of it. So I asked Adnan what it was, and he described to me that's where the children and teachers were burnt, and that's their ashes.
Bloody hell.
I felt sick as a parrot. Absolutely felt sick. Like I said, it smelled of death because in a barn next to the school, there was more ashes, but it was, Adnan was saying, it's the adults of the village and the animals. It was just disgusting. Excuse me.
That's all
right. So, yeah. And during this point, my sister died of cancer.
Oh, my life. So how long were you out there?
4 years, 3 months.
4 years and 3 months out in Syria?
Yeah.
Oh, my. I think I'm going to have to get you back on here. So when did you come back to the UK?
January 19.
Bloody hell.
So, yeah, my sister, she had been battling cancer, which I put at the back of my mind because I was, at this point, it then started to dawn on me that death was following me everywhere. When I was a kid, I was supposed to die. 16, I was supposed to die. The Black Front, the Shadow Coalition tried to kill me. ISIS tried to kill me. They didn't kill me. And I thought death was stood there and he took my sister instead. I felt so guilty. Absolutely felt so guilty. It absolutely tore me in half. And previous to this, my wife at the time, so my two children's mum, she decided to leave me while I was in Syria. So, the hell, at the time, there was just nothing going right at all. Nothing was. Every avenue in my life was, as we say in the military, piling in. It was going wrong. My life was going wrong. So we left Syria, and then I met my wife now, and for reference, she's an absolute angel, a fantastic lady. And jumping ahead slightly, I'm still here because of her, for the reference. So left Syria, all fine, no problem at all. And then started to, as we all do, reflect on some of the stuff I've seen, smelt, and done. Then nightmares started creeping in. I thought, oh, for God's sake, okay, this is just normal nightmares. Never considered PTSD at the time. I remember one day I was in the garden, gardening, on my hands and knees, and I just broke down in tears. I just dropped to the floor, as in, I was on my knees anyway, but my torso, everything just dropped. I just could not stand it. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. Every night I was having nightmares, and the first nightmare I had was behind the olive tree, when I gave up. And I was revisiting that. I felt guilty for saying goodbye to the kids. The nightmares got worse. I was detaching myself from life. I was blaming my wife for silly things. I started to drink heavily. I started to take painkillers to help me sleep, because every night I was screaming in my sleep. My wife was saying, I was lashing out, not at her, but I was waving my arms around, kicking, I was sweating. And even now, if my sheet, my side of the bed, is untucked from the corner, that kind of reminds me, oh shit, have I had a bad sleep? I really, really, really couldn't take anymore. And then my mum died of cancer. And then I started to see a face in every room I was in. The face was white and cream with sunken in eyes, long and sharp teeth. Every room I was in, I've seen it. When I was really, really at rock bottom, it used to laugh at me. But when I was depressed, it used to scream at me. I remember having an argument with my wife in the kitchen as she used to by the cooker, and this face appeared on her face, laughing at me. Sorry, I couldn't take any more of this, so I decided to plan to take my own life. So the hospital where I was born is no longer there, St David's. It's now a clothing store. My plan was to go into the woods opposite the hospital, drink whiskey and hang myself. There was no route out. I was in this hole. I could not do it anymore. I reached out to Veterans Wales. Being a typical bloke and bravado, they gave me a set of tools, and I thought, brilliant, hallelujah, it'll work. Bloody hell, no, it just, I won't say it made it worse. It gave me a false sense of hope, and I suppose I let the demon in a bit more, and then I started to see things. So my lad said to me he's going to go and sleep in a mate's house, and his Snapchat suggested otherwise. So I went to this wood to find him near the Manor Straits. And I was walking in these woods, and I seen that person I shot on the Rucky. His MC Hammer trousers, his Digicam dish dash, his chest rig, his shemag, and his long barrel weapon. And all it was a broken clump of ivy falling from the tree. But I froze. I was back there. I was back in that recce. I froze again. I absolutely panicked. Burst into tears. I ran out the woods, got in the car, got home, got pissed, painkillers again, and I went for the same routine. And at that time, my wife was pregnant with our daughter. And my wife had a horrendous labour to the point she ruptured a lot of blood, and I nearly lost the both of them. Again, death was in haunting me again. I just couldn't take it. There's nothing I could do. I was in agony. It was screaming at me. It was laughing at me. Death wouldn't leave me alone. I lost my sister, lost my mum. I nearly lost myself. I lost the marriage. And now on the verge of losing my wife and daughter. Thankfully, they both came through. Thankfully, to the amazing medical team at Betty Cadwallader in North Wales and Health Board up there. They saved her life and my daughter's life. And that's when things started to take a positive turn for me. So my daughter's called Theodora, and that means a gift from God.
Right.
And I then reached out again to Veterans Wales, and I opened more to my therapist about exactly what I'd been experiencing and all the rest of it. She then took the decision to refer me to a doctor. And I'm still on the medication now. So I was placed on quetiapine and sertraline. So quetiapine is an antipsychotic, so that helps me not seeing things, and the sertraline is antidepressant, so that helps me. I again bravado. I didn't want to take them initially, so
No.
I didn't want to be one of them people, but that sounded rude. I was going back downhill. I was planning to kill myself again. And this time, I actually was going to drive to the woods. So I decided to take the the medication. And it was working. I'm laughing because it did amazing things. The face started to disappear. I remember seeing the face 2 weeks ago, actually. I was walking from the shop and I said it to F off, and it just went like that to me. I'll make the sound for the listeners, went gulp. And they looked at me, just disappeared. So one of the things I was taught during my therapy was to box things off in your mind. For me personally, it wasn't working. So my wife said to me, try writing things down. So I did. So as I was writing things down, I could feel elements of my trauma leaving me. Not leaving me, but detaching. So I decided then to explore the idea of writing a book. So with 2 aims. Firstly, to emotionally detach myself from the trauma. And secondly, to help others. Because during this time as well, I had mates killing themselves as well.
Oh, yeah,
So
I see that. All Jiffy Myers
Yeah.
and Steve, they post them all the time, people that have taken their own lives. Terrible.
So one of the skills I actually learned was I'll use the recce as an example. Rather than being emotionally involved with the situation, I placed myself out of it in a cinema chair, looking at the event as a viewer. And I was eating popcorn, drinking the tub of Coke. And that helped me to emotionally detach. And I use that model for all the scenarios as in. So I purposely put myself in all the scenarios and I emotionally detached. That with medication worked. And there we go. It didn't happen overnight. It took months. And I then started to write the book more intensely. And yeah, and here I am.
And what's the book called, sir?
It's called Echoes in the Silence.
And how can people access this?
It goes live on the 30th of June on Amazon and in bookstores. I know Waterstones, if I did know, they would like to stock it.
Why did you write the book?
I wrote the book because I want not only veterans, I want humanity, I want society to read my book and to understand, doesn't matter what trauma you have, there is always a route out. And please read what I've done. And please read the message that I can absolutely assure you. Utilize all the support, all the tools given to you, and the skills I've used, and I can assure you there is a route out.
I mean, it's quite harrowing, the stuff that you've been through. It is harrowing, and as I say, I watch when Jiffy puts up, or Steve, or whoever it may be, that someone has taken their life. It's so sad, and when you're such a close knit community, the Welsh Guards. I don't think I've got it here, but there's the reunions and all the bits and pieces that go on. The problem is, and this is, you guys are so proud that to ask for help, sometimes I think some of you see it as a weakness, and it's not.
You know what? I'm gonna counter that.
Go on, mate.
I'm gonna say police forces, military. It's embedded into us to be proud, and absolutely be proud. But I argue, be proud of something that you wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
If you need help, be proud that you're gonna do something that you wouldn't normally do. Stick your head above the parapet, which I described earlier, and stand tall and go, I can do this. And having the moral courage to reach out, I can absolutely promise that there is an end game, there is an end state, and you will achieve what you wanted to achieve.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Wise words. And of course, now you're a teacher. You teach
Yeah.
kids with special educational needs. That you must find that really rewarding, given everything that you've gone through. You're giving people opportunity, which sometimes they may not have got. How did you find your way into that world?
I think I was destined to do it. I mean, when I was young, I had learning disabilities, and I've now gone full circle. So all the life, ups and downs I've had, I can utilize that and I can bring it to a different battlefield.
Yeah.
And the relationship I've got with my students, it's unbreakable. It's amazing.
That's fantastic.
They see something in me. They gravitate towards me all the time. They see something in me that I don't see in myself. And they're always there. I feel like Pied Piper half the time.
Well, but that's good. If you're that beacon for them, that's exactly what they need.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to let you get to your evening. Thank you so much for your time. I would like to talk to you again because I think there's 4.5 years. We've done over an hour and a half, and I think 4.5 years in that scenario, there's so much more that we can discuss. But before we conclude this interview, is there anything you'd like to add or alter or clarify?
Well, thank you for giving me the time to tell my story. And I mean, fundamentally, for anyone listening out there who is struggling, please seek help. Believe me, it really does work. Help does work. Please believe me.
Absolutely. Well, listen, take care of yourself, take care of your family. The phone is always on, all right? And anybody else who's listening, I'm not the panacea to everybody's problems, but I am pretty good at listening, and I'm pretty good at trying to help people. So please, anything I can do to help you, just reach out.
Thank you, sir.
All right, mate. God bless you and your family, and I'll speak to you very soon.
And you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.